1980s, Hulk Hogan had become a household name synonymous with professional wrestling, from his role in Rocky III as Thunderlips to taking the World Wrestling Federation, now WWE, to new heights, to the cover of Sports Illustrated. It only made sense to use his star power for a feature film, right? In 1987, Roddy Piper chose movies over professional wrestling and would star in cult classics like They Live. Though not a huge box office success, it's one of our personal favorites, and this pushed Vince McMahon to take action. After all, he knew Hulk Hogan was interested in doing movies. What if he left the wrestling business at a time when it was printing money like no other? Might as well make a movie with Hulk. So it happened. In February of 1988, Hulk Hogan would drop the heavyweight championship belt, which he had held for over 4 years, take a hiatus for after WrestleMania 4, and return only to take back the belt by WrestleMania 5. All this due to a movie. Okay, well, Hulk was going to be a father too, but still. The movie was released in theaters on June 2nd, 1989, and debuted at number 2 at the box office behind Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. Who in their right mind thought this was a good idea to release it in June of 1989? While Indiana Jones was still running at the box office since late May, June saw the releases of 3 big box office sequels: Ghostbusters 2, Star Trek 5, and The Karate Kid 3. Top it off with Dead Poets Society and Tim Burton's Batman, No Holds Barred didn't stand a chance, and there was no way the movie could even maintain the top 10 spot in July when you start that month with a big sequel, Lethal Weapon 2. Ouch. This isn't to say that No Holds Barred was a great movie that deserved to be a big box office success. It was a fun B movie at best, and we mean that loosely, 10% on Rotten Tomatoes. Ouch. The issue is that you had Terry Bolea, aka Hulk Hogan, playing as a wrestler named Rip, who happens to be a clone of Hulk Hogan, who happens to have the WWF Championship belt, which Hulk didn't even have when he was filming the movie, so it was obvious in real life he was going to get it back, and Hulk wasn't a great actor either. The movie was kind of a Rocky clone, taking the playbook from 80s fighting movies that couldn't stand close enough to the likes of Bloodsport, or even Kickboxer. Most would agree that it was Kurt Fuller who stole the show. Without him, this would be worse than a B-movie. Kurt plays a dirty network executive named Mr. Brell who wanted Rip on his network, but Rip refuses, so he creates his own Battle of the Tough Guys wrestling show with no rules, and the top wrestler would be Zeus, who becomes Rip's opponent by the end of the movie. Rip's brother gets beaten up, his girl gets kidnapped or whatever, and Mr. Brell is electrocuted to death and Rip kills Zeus. Whoa. I thought this was supposed to be family friendly. And why was Rip in bed with this girl? I mean, what happened to Hulk Hogan's clean image? Was this Lust Hogan, as Jesse Ventura liked to call him? So besides looking at what went wrong, how about we look at what they could have done better? The movie begins with Hulk, Rip, successfully defending his championship belt. Mr. Brell here is a wrestling manager who hates Rip with a passion. He just can't find the right guy to beat him, as his guys always lose. Brell, however, wants to make a deal with Rip to manage him. Rip thinks he's nuts for suggesting it, but Brell promises him movie deals, merch deals, and lots of money. Rip throws him around, and Brell is embarrassed that he has to go around the world to find someone menacing enough to beat Rip. Later, Rip is enjoying some time off with his brother Randy and friends. Randy happens to be training with Charlie, Rip's original trainer, to become a pro wrestler, and gets his first singles match. Rip then meets Samantha, who doesn't work for Brell or anything, but is a cliche reporter wanting to get to know more about Rip, more about the person. They go out on a date, and we do have the restaurant scene, less corny, but enough with Rip taking out a bad guy with a gun. Randy wins his first singles match, but Rip was too busy with Samantha. That makes Randy angry at his brother. Meanwhile, Mr. Brell is out in some town up north and finds an illegal, no-rules wrestling promotion with Zeus as its champion. Brell tries to hire Zeus. Zeus initially brushes him off, but accepts Brell's money offer and promises of fame. Zeus is then brought into the WWF and starts to quickly beat up opponents from town to town at ease. Eventually, we get to Zeus versus Randy in a singles match with no Rip in sight. Brell tells Zeus to destroy Randy, and he practically breaks him in half, temporarily paralyzing him. Rip is devastated. He should have been there for Randy. He should have been a better brother, but wasn't. Brell forces a challenge to Zeus to take on Rip. Rip decides to forfeit his title belt as he chooses to help his brother recover and gives it up as Zeus becomes the new WWF champion. Rip becomes a better brother to Randy, even ignoring Samantha for a bit. But Randy tells him that he has to live his life, that he's sorry for being angry at Rip, and that he shouldn't have never taken that match with Zeus without enough training, and that Rip needs to take the title back and go get the girl. As Zeus becomes a menace and Mr. Brell gloats, Rip challenges Zeus to a match, but Mr. Brell makes it no rules. In the end, Rip defeats Zeus, though doesn't kill him, of course, and Mr. Bell doesn't die from some electrocution. Rip wins back the championship belt, he gets the girl, and his brother stands on his 2 feet, hoping to one day wrestle again. This is meant to be actually more family-friendly, as much as possible with, some wrestling violence. None of that weird dumb jokes either, like Dookie, because Hulk isn't even being hunted down by some bad guys from a network or something. Could there have been a sequel? Probably not. And we don't get No Holds Barred the movie The Match, or whatever the heck it's called. I mean, come on, did you have to make wrestling seem so fake in 1989 there, Vince McMahon, by bringing in Zeus and trying to milk it as much as possible? This movie either should have been never released, or at least released much earlier during the height of Hulk Hogan's run. I bet it hurt your business there, Vince. What did you think of this concept? Comment, like, subscribe, and thank you for watching In the Plot.